Alright guys, I just got gas and I am heading home from working since 11 and it is now 6:30, so I'm gonna, my ears are so itching. So I'm gonna run home, quickly shower because my hair is like been up all day and I just feel kind of gross. Then I'm gonna get ready for another event that I'm working. Okay, it says do not enter, but I'm gonna like pop a U-turn anyway. No one's around. I'm in the country. I might as well just do it because I'm not gonna go around a block or something stupid. Oops. Watch it get pulled over now. Okay, I'm good. So anyways, I want to upload tonight my part 2 for my birthday blues. And I know I left off explaining that my husband had blew my whole like YouTube thing. And I just want to explain why that was problematic because I don't think I really explained it and did a good job at like painting the picture. So my mother-in-law doesn't work. She doesn't have like her own friends. Like she's very like all she has, and it's not because of anyone's fault other than her own at this point. She has her own problems, and she keeps her world very small, okay? So she has often mentioned in the past that, and she just mentioned it not too long ago to my husband the other day, saying that literally all she has in life are her children. But the thing is like, they're all older than me. I'm 27. So her kids are full-grown adult men, okay? And she's having a very hard time letting her children be adult kids or adult children in my opinion. She wants them to be like babies and she wants to be important to her kids and she wants to hold on to that for forever. But you have to let your kids grow up and spread their wings and fly. I mean, that whole empty nesting thing should have happened a long time ago, but she's having a hard time with that. So she's very sensitive and she does take literally like everything I say, mostly me for that matter, to be like portrayed in the most negative, and she blows it out of proportion to like the full extent. So, for example, when I had first bought my townhouse when I was 22, I remember being like super frustrated because my cable company and my internet company had absolutely no flexibility to like coming to my house to install my cable. They were like, it has to be during the week, Monday through Friday, between the hours of like 8 o'clock in the morning and like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, like a huge open window like that. And I remember like I was at my boyfriend, who's now my husband, I was at his house and I had said, God, I just don't understand how like normal people get things done like this. I mean, people who work a traditional 9-to-5 job and, you know, they don't have someone who's 18 years old or older at their house just to like wait for cable all day. Like, who has that kind of time? Like, I was really frustrated and had brought that up, and she had gotten offended because she doesn't work and she felt like I was attacking her, but I wasn't. Like, the conversation had nothing to do with her. And of course, like, I felt like an asshole because I felt like, oh, did I say something to offend? You know, at that point, like, of us dating, you know, you're still on your good behavior. But, like, it's just stuff like that where it's like you have a conversation about life and she's going to get offended by me. And maybe it's because of the way my tone is, or maybe it's the way I carry myself or hold the conversation, but it's really not meant to be anything other than what it is. Like, I talk at face value. Sorry, there was like a fruit fly that followed me in my car, and I fucking hate those things. So the fact is like, by him even just like bringing it up to her, she has the time and she's nosy enough where she's going to find it. Like, she has the time where, like, even me, even though like my hours are not traditional by any means at all, I still work 40 plus hours a week and run a household and take care of, you know, a lot of other things that are going on. So I don't have time to like look for bullshit where bullshit doesn't need to be found. You know what I mean? So I was upset, but I had gotten over it because, and I also do realize, you guys, that like, I made this channel. This channel is public. Anybody can find it. However, it was very highly doubtful that like she would have found it in the first place. Sorry if my camera's like shaking. I'm driving. It's country roads. They're not the best quality of roads, so I apologize. I wish I could make this like a little bit more stable and not so bouncy. So anyways, bounce. So I just wanted to like kind of clarify that a little bit better. But here's the other part that you have to realize too, and why I got into this like huge fight with his mom again. I had talked to her the week before my birthday, or like a week and a half before my birthday. And I had clarified some things that were going on. Like, for example, my husband told her like, oh yeah, Sav has thyroid problems and she's gonna need surgery. But he didn't like necessarily explain to her like the graphic or the extent of it. Like he just kind of like makes everything kind of sound like better than what it is, and he puts things at like a very nice way of putting things, I suppose. That's how I'd explain it. He doesn't go into detail, and he doesn't like rock the boat at all with his mom. It's very just like the quick version, the nice version, the easy version with his mom. And you know, I know he told her that my grandma was like terminal and was sick, but again, he doesn't explain like the backgrounds. Like, my grandma was in the hospital and then she got released and then she was back in the hospital, and the hospital said, listen, there's just really nothing much we can do. You have to go into a nursing home. Well, my grandma then didn't want to go into a nursing home, so then they were releasing her from the hospital, and literally 20 minutes before they released her, they're like, okay, well, then we can order like all the hospital stuff for your house. Like, he doesn't go into like the nitty-gritty and the shit parts of it. It's just very black and white, where it almost just seems like, oh, okay, like no big deal, when in fact there is like a much bigger deal and a bigger picture. So I had called her and I explained to her kind of like everything that was happening, and she understood like how frustrated, you know, I was feeling and how much pressure was on me, right? So she already knows it because it came from the horse's mouth. And then with my whole birthday thing, like, she also knows I'm not that type of person that, like, I'm not ever going to be that person that would want to celebrate my birthday. Like, if I had my choice between celebrating my birthday and celebrating your birthday, I'd rather celebrate you, because I don't like that added pressure on me. I'm also not like a very attention-seeking or attention-grabbing kind of person. I mean, I like to have fun. Hey, if we were all hanging out at like a bar or a party or whatever, yeah, I'm gonna be like the comedian in the group and I'm gonna get everyone to laugh. That's just me. But I'm not like gonna be walking in with like my midriff on with my tits hanging out either. Like, I'm not an attention kind of girl. And even like my wedding, as much as my wedding was beautiful and it was great, and I don't know if I've ever been to a better wedding, in my own opinion. I would never want that again. Never, ever, ever. I would much rather attend someone else's wedding, you know. And of course, you better always think your wedding is better than everybody else's, because it's all about you that day, and it's all about your partner and you celebrating. So, you know what I mean? Like, just in general, though, I would never want that kind of pressure ever again in my life. It was just too much. It's too much for me. Like, bridal showers, baby showers, I'd rather be an attendee than, you know, the person that is, like, all eyes on them. It's just too much pressure for me. So, and she knows that. And I don't like surprises. I don't know. I got some issues there. And on top of all of that was happening, my dad was also feeling very sorry for himself, because I didn't have time to go meet him for, like, birthday lunch, because I was gonna meet, like, I didn't, just where my dad works and where my dad's at and everything else, like, I just didn't have time to meet him for birthday lunch, and I didn't have time in the morning for birthday breakfast because of, like, my grandma and that whole situation. And then my parents are divorced, so no, I'm not going to invite him over to my, it's not raining, I'm not going to invite him over to my grandma's house and deal with that trauma. And like I said in my last video, my dad is an alcoholic, he's a big drinker, and I can't talk to him past a certain hour of the day because I don't know what father I'm going to get, if you know what I mean. So there was all that pressure, and then there was, like, pressure because I have family members, or my mom's aunt, my grandmother's sister, so my second aunt, is a nosy busybody and calls my dad and tells her, like, oh yeah, you know, my grandma isn't doing well, and that she wanted to make sure that he was informed by this. And I had already informed my father about her situation, but I also did it where I knew that it wasn't going to be problematic, because I didn't want my dad just to show up to my grandmother's house and cause a scene. Like, people need to mind their own damn business. And, you know, it would have been different if she would have called me and said, you know, I know your dad was in the family for a very long time. Do you think, you know, have you talked to him about your grandmother, and do you think it's a good idea? I would have had that conversation, but she didn't even do that. She just took matters into her own hands. And, like, I get she was trying to do, like, the right thing, but she doesn't know the circumstance that my dad has put us in either. She had no business to put that on. So then my dad's questioning about my grandma again. And then he's like, well, should I go over there? It's like, no, stay home. Like, I'm honest with you. I would have told you, you know, it was just a big fucking thing in that morning. So I'm dealing with my dad. I'm dealing with my grandmother. I'm dealing with my husband blowing something. I'm dealing with just a bunch of, like, shit all at once. And then, so later on in that day, I get to my grandmother's house. Or not later on that day. So that morning, I'm at my grandmother's house, and around 11:30 in the morning, or like around, gosh, what, I don't even remember at this point. It was like, me and my mother-in-law were supposed to meet at 11:30 in the morning. So I texted her before then, and I had said, hey, do you mind if I meet you at 12 instead of 11:30? I want to run to the house, and I want to run home. I want to grab something real quick, and I want to just, like, kind of freshen up a little bit because I look like shit. And she goes, oh, and, you know, and like, kind of like a normal response would have been, oh, don't worry, girl, like, 12 works fine, or 12 doesn't work, but, like, 12 works fine. Don't worry about your appearance, you always look good, or don't worry, I look bad too. Something, you know, like, people say shit like that. It's like, you know, just being polite. I was like, okay, cool. But she's like, don't worry, that works, but I look like shit too because I've been crying all morning. That was unprovoked, her saying that she was crying. like, we had a, before then, like, we were texting and everything was fine. I mean, I did get a very passive aggressive text message at like 6 in the morning, but, you know, I thought we cleared that up by me saying, like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't, like, text you back last night. I had heartburn and I just went to bed at like 9:30 at night. I was tired. I think, you know, we're a lot more similar than we are different. If you want to go out to lunch, just the two of us, we can, like, talk about our differences or talk about our relationship and whatever. It was something like that. It was very nice. So from that point on, like, our conversation was very just like normal. There wasn't any problematic things happening. It wasn't like aggressive. It was just very like, okay, see you then, can't wait, yay. But then she has to sit there and say she was crying all morning, re-victimizing herself literally all over again, you guys. And at that point, I had just like snapped. I had enough. And I thought the next thing I'm going to end up, I take that back. Let me backtrack. I texted her back because I can't assume that she was crying because of me. Like, what if, like, I don't know, something, like she burnt her hand or something, like, so I didn't assume. So I texted her and I said, hey, not to sound narcissistic or anything, but are you talking about me, like making her cry? And she said, don't worry, it's not your fault. Again, like, it came out of nowhere, making herself the victim of herself, but making her the victim. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, I just snapped. At that point, I just snapped. I called my husband. He didn't answer. And I sent him some text messages. And I'm just like, basically the gist of those text messages were something like, you know, I have had enough here. Like, are you kidding me? She's crying all morning and had to tell me that she was crying all morning because I didn't pick out where I want, like, what I wanted to do. I said, you know damn well, oh wait, I can't turn there. I'm like, you know damn well that if I would have picked, it would have been the wrong answer. It would have been a problem later, and I wasn't about to do that to myself. And like, I don't know what she really wanted, and I'm not gonna pick, you know, two decisions. Because if I would have said, okay, you guys, if I would have said, you know what, Joy, why don't you come over tonight and celebrate with my family and eat pizza and have cake? I shouldn't have said her name there. But I'm not going to, like, stop recording this. If I would have said, you know, hey, let me, like, you know, come over to my family's and eat pizza and cake, she might have gotten offended because I invited her to, like, her thing wasn't, her inviting me to lunch in the first place wasn't good enough. Or I only want to do things with my family, and I gave her the pity invite. Even though that's not true, I was afraid that she might interpret it that way. But then, like, if I would have said, yeah, I'll go out to lunch with you, then she might have interpreted it like, oh, she's not good enough for my family. You see, there was like that catch-22, and I'm so afraid that she's going to take something the wrong way that I can't pick that. I gave her two options. If she would have said I would do both, I would have said that's fine. Or, you know, it's not necessary, you don't have to do both, but if you want to do both, that's fine. Like, I didn't care. It didn't matter to me. Like, either way worked. It didn't need to be anything bigger. So then I had, like, said that to my husband, like, in a text message, and he then calls me and he's like, do you want me just to come home? It sounds like you're having a bad day. I was so pissed because, no, I don't want you coming home. I actually yelled. I yelled at him. I said, no, I don't want to even see your face right now. I remember saying that, and I was just very, just like irritated. I'm like, I want you to fix this. I need you to, like, talk to your crazy mom and, like, tell her that it's not okay for her to feel sorry for herself, and there was no reason for her to, like, went out of her way to tell me that she was crying when, no offense, but I would much rather have her problems being that her daughter-in-law didn't tell her what to do and and had her pick her own way than by giving her two options than, like, dealing with thyroid and dealing with my grandmother dying and everything else. Like, like, come on. I was so mad. And so he calls his mom, and she was crying. Of course, she was crying on the phone when she answered, according to my husband. And he was like, I guess he had just had enough too. He knew, like, how upset I was, and I guess he, like, pretty much yelled at her, which I don't condone. I didn't want him to, like, yell at her. I wanted him just to say, you know what, like, I just wanted him to take care of it. I didn't expect him to yell. I guess in my mind, I would have thought he would have, like, said, I don't know why you have to feel sorry for yourself and make everything about you or make everything negative. Like, this is just a really good example why Savannah is so distant to you and, like, doesn't feel comfortable enough to, like, reach out to you or whatever. But no, like, he went off on her and yelled, and it is what it is. And then he called me back and he said I yelled at her, but then she said she wouldn't bring it up at lunch or anything. And I said, no, like, I'm not even, at that point, I was like, dude, like, I don't even know what you said. He's like, I blacked out. I don't even know what I said either. I'm like, well, if you don't know what you said, and she wants to just, like, she's not going to discuss lunch, don't you think, like, lunch is kind of ruined? Like, it's, just because someone says they're not going to bring it up doesn't mean that they actually are. And, like, obviously, it's just, like, weird tension now because you screamed at her, and I'm like, honestly, like, what do you think? What do you think is, like, the best idea? And he's like, yeah, I don't think you should go to lunch. And I'm like, no, I don't think we should go to lunch today. So he calls her back and says, I was thinking about it. I think you and Savannah need to do a rain check. I think emotions are just, like, way too high right now, and it's just not going to end up in a good place. So that was it. Like, we didn't talk for the rest of the day. Like, me and his mom, we still have not talked. We have not spoken to each other yet. And basically, that was it with her. And like I said, my dad and her and my grandma. And then, there's, I don't know if I touched on it or not, but there's, realistically, this is probably, miracles happen all the time, I get that, but realistically, this probably would have been, or this probably will be my last birthday or celebration with my grandmother, okay? And my whole family, kind of, like, as a whole unit. So there's a lot of pressure on my day, like on my birthday and my birthday dinner, and, like, it was just pizza that we ordered and we picked up. There was just a lot of pressure trying to make it, like, the best one. And of course, with all that pressure and everyone knowing it, everyone was on edge. So I had to work until 6 o'clock that day. And now it was only, like, a couple hour shift. It wasn't anything big deal, but I still had to work, okay? And my mom calls me earlier that day and just to verify times and stuff, and I said, well, I work until 6, and she goes, okay, then I will order a pizza, and do you think you can get off early? And I said, no, I don't think I can get off early, but mind you, and she's in the same industry as I am, so, like, I don't know what she was thinking, other than she probably wasn't. And then she's like, well, do you think your husband, like, what time does your husband get home? Even though I've told her, like, a million times that my husband gets home by, like, at least, like, 6:30 at the latest. and it just depends on his like day and how much court he has and everything else, that it was just going to really depend on like his day. You just can't just like come home early all the time. Like, it's not like that. So she was like, so she was the one in charge of ordering like the food, the pizza, and I guess she told me that she was gonna get the cake. Fine. Sorry, my nose is itching, you guys. I just burped. I'm a pig. I just burped. I'm a pig. Wink, wink, wink. So, there's just a lot of pressure. So I get a call at like 6 o'clock asking where I was. And I'm like, what do you mean where am I? I'm like, I'm packing up. I'm getting ready to go home real quick. And then I was going to meet Justin at home, and then we were going to go out to Grandma's. And she's like, really? You knew I was ordering your stuff? And I'm like, you knew I was at work, and why are you getting mad at me? We're celebrating my birthday, are we not? You know? And she had already had the pizza at my grandmother's house waiting for me and my husband to show up. And then getting mad at me when we didn't make it on time, even though, how are we supposed to make it on time when I was working until 6 o'clock anyways? And her house is still like 7 miles from mine. So by the time my husband got home, it was like 6:20. And we drive to my grandma's house, and I'm like, oh, you know what? They don't have any like Diet Coke, and that's what me and my husband like to drink with pizza. So we went through like the McDonald's line, that like, and their McDonald's is like on the way there. We got the drinks, and of course my grandma, everyone is sitting at the table waiting for us, and I'm like, are you kidding me? And my husband actually was like, do you think we should even go to McDonald's and get a drink? And I'm like, you know what, it's my birthday, like, this is something that I actually want, let's just go and do it. Like, and normally I would have said no, like, let's just go, but I was like, fuck it, like, it's my day, like, I want a Diet Coke, I should be able to have a fucking Diet Coke, like, what? And I'm like, what is another 3 minutes added on to us being late already? So we get in, and my grandma goes, oh, it's nice of you to show up. I did say something rude, you guys, to her, because I was so annoyed, and I'm just going to tell you what it was. And this is how my humor is anyway, and my grandma took it right, but like, my husband's mom would have not, okay? And maybe you won't either, but I was like, Grandma, what are you racing for? Your own funeral? And she was like, and then she laughed, and she's like, yeah, you're right, like, you know, sorry, or like, yeah, you're right. And was like, you know, I love you, and I didn't really mean it that way. You know, I said it without thinking, but it was like, it was all good. And so then everyone's like busting each other's balls at the table. Like, my brother's there. He brings his like new girlfriend, but you have to understand too, my brother has a new girlfriend all the fucking time. So it was like kind of like the running joke that we were all playing with him. So we were like, oh yeah, no, it was nice to meet you. We probably won't see you again. Ha ha ha. Everyone was just joking, but then it like just like everyone takes it like a step too far, and then feelings get hurt, and then it's just like, it was just kind of like, I feel like there was so much pressure on all of us to like make this like a last like holiday kind of thing to celebrate with everyone all together, that it just ended up being like pressure, and everyone just kind of getting angry and taking things too far and getting their feelings hurt. So by the time it was time for like my birthday cake, my mom takes, and I don't like cake, to be honest with you guys, like I don't eat cake very much, and I don't really care for it. As I've gotten older, it's a little bit better, but like if I had my choice of like between French fries and a piece of cake, I would pick French fries 100% of the time. So my mom pulls out the cake, and it's white with like little blue flowers around the middle of it, and like the spot where it was like blank, you know, that you're supposed to write like happy birthday or like customize your personal message. My mom had nothing in there. Nothing. So I make fun of it, of course, and I'm like, oh, I guess, you know, it should say happy birthday, Meg. Like, what am I, Meg from Family Guy, you know? Like, I was like, Mom, what the hell? And she's like, I didn't have time. And so then I'm even laughing even more because I'm just like, what are you talking about? You didn't have time. Like, you didn't have a minute for the person behind like the cake counter to write like happy Bday or even like a hashtag or like a smiley face, anything. But no, like, I'm like, you literally gave me a cake that was meant to like have a message written in it with no message, and everyone was laughing. And then my mom was even laughing. She's like, yeah, it's kind of stupid of me, like I just was being lazy. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, you realize it's like my birthday, are you kidding me? So like, thanks. So then of course, like, and I didn't even like care at this point, but then my grandma goes, do you have any candles, you know, with her Darth Vader mask on and everything else? And my mom goes, no. Of course, my mom didn't even write get a cake or cookie or anything that said happy birthday on it. Do you think my mom brought candles? No. So my grandma goes, oh, I have some that I got on clearance. They're in this cabinet and like this spot. My grandma has everything put into its place, okay? That's just the way she is, super organized. And my mom is like, oh my God, they're Hanukkah candles. And my husband being like, having like Jewish ancestry, I'm like, oh, Justin, my grandma must have got those just for you. And we're all laughing and just like joking around and like having a good time. But like at the end of the day, it just, even though I say like, I don't want everything to be about me or anything, secretly there is a part of me that like wants to be like, to have like, to feel special. And even though like I don't like the pressure of it, and it's just such a fine line, because like, yeah, I want to feel special, but I also don't want like things to be half-assed either. Like, if you're gonna get me a birthday cake, it should say happy birthday on it at the very least. If you're gonna get candles, they shouldn't be Hanukkah candles. They should be birthday cake candles. If it's supposed to be like my birthday and you knew I was working, you should have like put that together and not have like put it at a time that was like impossible for me, but maybe like more convenient for like herself or whatever. And I was actually surprised that they didn't already start eating, because that's just how they are. They're kind of barbaric like that. It was just like, the older I get, the more I realize like, yeah, no, birthdays are just another day, and it's not a, you know, get out the bouncy house and the bouncy castle and it's all gonna be like unicorns and rainbows and a circus clown. It's not gonna be like that. And I know I sound probably like a hypocrite in a lot of ways on this like video, and like I probably have overshared and stated too much, and I probably didn't paint myself